Rita has to join. Yeah, I think Rita has also joined. Okay. So I didn't recorded the session till now. I'm going to record it now. I have already pressed the record button and we'll go ahead with the presentation. So what I was saying is, while drafting the specification, it is important for you to keep in mind the FER, and uh, it is important apart from novelty, non-obviousness issues. Uh, you also need to handle the examiner, patent examiner. If patent examiner says this is not an invention, don't argue with him saying that no, this is invention, uh, this is not matching with prior art and all. So you need to agree with him and say that yes, it might not be invention, but my invention is different in this way. That is how you need to. So you need to accept to his contentions, and at the same time write back to him saying that how it is different, right? If you go on saying whatever you have you done, if you say examiner bluntly that you doesn't understand technology, he'll get offended. So if he offends, you won't get a patent grant. So you need to please the examiner while replying to the FER. At the same time, if sometimes there are dumb examiners and they doesn't understand your technology thoroughly, at that point of time you need to very stringent enough to say that yes, you are unable to understand. You need to able to demonstrate to them that what they are understanding is wrong and what you are saying is right. So that you need to show up with demonstrations, examples, and all you need to give, and then maybe the examiner accepts and grants a patent to you. So you need to give a uh, balancing reply. The response should be not completely against the examiner. You need to say, you need to accept the examiner's contentions and at the same time put on what is your contention. As well as if examiner says completely, if examiner is completely wrong, completely he doesn't under, general principle is X and examiner says Y, then you need to say no sir, I appreciate your views, but it is completely against general principle is what you are able to say in the reply. Now let us see what would be the non-prior art rejections. When you first receive an office action, send it to the client without comments or review it first. So you need to get the information from the client. Say you are only the person who are drafting the specification or who are helping. You need to have the client's comments first on the examination report. The moment you get examination report, you send it to the client. Ask the client to comment on it or review the examination first by himself, and then send it to you, so that you will have what client is thinking on the said objections, and then accordingly you can work on it. Then what is the sophistication level of the client? If the client understands the examination report, that's well and good. Otherwise you need to make him understand what is examination report, what are the prior art cited by the examiner and all. Most clients will want at least some comments on it. So most of the clients, if you just forward the examination report, they will not appreciate it. They want you to give a comment and ask them to comment and review it. So if you just forward it, they'll be unhappy. So what you need to do is you need to say that we have received this examination report from the examiner. Examiner cited these prior art. Now we need to do, our job is to differentiate this prior art with the invention. If you say like that and send across, then the client will go through the prior art references cited by the examiner and he'll give his comments. Now, how well do you understand the technology versus your client? So whether you understand technology better, whether your client understand, because he is the inventor, the assumption will be your client understands the technology better, not you, because you are his agent. What is the invention made by him? You are filing an application. So presuming that he's the better person to understand the technology, you need to ask him to comment it. You may need to send cited art to the client for the comment on what difference about his technology. Keep the goal in mind, respond in the best manner to get the broadest claims allowed. Then what is important parts of FER, the cover page, the mailing date, when it has been sent to you, that is used for calculation of dates when you need to reply back. So very important, these dates need to be remembered. And in India, it is only 6 months that will be given to you to reply the FER. So what you need to do is, the moment FER is issued, you can send it and ask the client, ping the client after 1 month, say the client, you need to reply this FER, personally send. Maybe you can, if you are a agent or attorney, you need to have the money paid for this work. So you need to send an invoice and ask him to come back to you with the comments within 30 days, or maybe every 30 days you need to have automatic reminders. Then on second work, you need to begin the work. If it is not already started, you need to have sufficient time for replying examination report. Third month is a regular deadline, is what you need to keep. You should not wait for 6 months. Third month, you should be ready with the draft. If that is not done, I think you need to expedite and finalize the third month. Fifth month, ping the client and say that it is only 1 month left. And sixth month, if you have not filed, your application will be abandoned. So this is how the timelines you need to keep in mind. FER summary not always accurate, but gives you something of a roadmap. Now, when FER has been raised, the examiner is supposed to also say how. See, in India it is not happening, but in USA and other countries, what FER has is the office action. In India we call it FER. In USA and other countries it is called office action. What these people will do is, they'll also suggest, this is already existing, this is not. So maybe you can amend your claim to cover only this part, will able to grant you. They give you some suggestions or roadmap for you to get a grant. So maybe you can consider the suggestions and alter the specification the way the examiner wants. Or when you are differing with examiner's suggestions, you need to consider what they are saying, understand what they want. Then you can draft your own specification. You may want to take allowed claims to protect them, file a divisional application for the rest of the claims. So whatever examiner is accepting as your invention, to that extent you can file a divisional application, say that whatever you accepted you grant me, rest of it you can say that you want to handle it separately. So that can be done by filing a divisional application. If patent office FER is final, sometimes it is preliminary office action, second office action, third office action you will get. So if the examiner says I'm going to refuse, consider hearing if necessary. So personal hearing is it is mandatory in India. In other countries it is not mandatory. So maybe you can have a hearing, you can have a telephonic interview with the examiner, understand what he wants to be corrected by you, and then talk to the client and get it replied as early as possible. There are two criteria for proper requirement for restriction between patentability distinct inventions. The first one is the invention must be independent and distinct as claimed. It is independent and distinct as claimed. Distinct means different from existing prior art. Then there should be a serious burden on the examiner if the restriction is not required. Like if it is if there are not different, if 2 or 3 inventions you have together claim, if it is distinct, this distinction is not possible, everything is common, then the examiner has a restriction. The examiner has to restrict. For example, we in fact filed a patent application for a transfer belt mechanism, wherein the plate goes in the ambulance stretcher. There is a plate which goes beneath the patient and lifts him and puts him on the bed, from the stretcher to the bed. So this transfer belt mechanism, we have filed a patent application in USA, and we have said this transfer belt mechanism can be achieved with 2 rollers. The belt has only 2 rollers, or the belt has 3 rollers, or the belt has 4 rollers, all of which is mine is what we have claimed. Then the examiner has come up with this restriction requirement. He says, whether you tell me, you pinpointly tell me what is your invention? Is it 2-roller belt is your invention, or 3-roller belt is your invention, or 4-roller belt is your invention? What is that is your invention? You tell me that. You have to choose any one of this. If you choose 4 rollers, then the patent will be granted to 4 rollers. If you choose 3 rollers, then the patent will be granted to 3 rollers. If you choose 2 rollers, the patent will be granted to 2 rollers. What is that you want? Or you can divide your application. You can make 3 applications: 2-roller, 1 application; 3-roller, another application; 4-roller, another application. 3 applications you can make, and 3 of them will be granted to you. Then I went to the client and said, this is what the examiner is saying, sir. You let me know what is your choice. Do you want to divide the application, or you want only restrict it to one single product? Then the client said, I'll restrict it to 2 rollers. Why? Because even if for a person to make 3-roller belt, he need to use 2 rollers. The moment you use 2 rollers, he is infringing on my patent. Even if somebody want to make a 4-roller, he has to use 2 rollers. So 2 rollers are must for any belt mechanism. So I'll restrict myself to 2 roller. I don't require to amend divide the specification into 3 things. I'll remove the other 2 roller systems. I'll only say that it is only 2 roller system. Then we have restricted to that. The patent has been granted. You can search in USPTO or even Google patents. The client name is the inventor, and applicant name is Konda Vishweshwar Reddy, and the title of the patent is transfer belt mechanism. If you are searching in USPTO, go to PAIR, public PAIR system. You all know how to dig out documents from PAIR? Yes, no? Patent application information retrieval system, public PAIR and private PAIR are there. You
Yes,
know
sir.
or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So go to this patent application, dig out this examination report and reply. How we have handled this examination report with a reply. When examiner has cited this restriction requirement, saying that if there are 3 rollers, 4 rollers, and 2 rollers, he is asking us to restrict it to any one of them. How we have handled that to restricting one of them, you can look in that specification, right? And then
So what is the type of your invention, sir? Transfer of?
transfer belt mechanism.
Okay.
Transfer belt
Thank
mechanism for shifting patients from stretcher to bed.
Okay. Okay, sir.
You write transfer belt mechanism and Konda Vishweshwar Reddy, you get that patent. Even if you do it on Google patents, you will get that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then a winning augment example must provisionally elect one of the grouping. If there are 3 or 4, you have no choice to win the case. Like we have done, only one of the group we have selected. You must say you are electing one group, that is the group you are. Must provide argument for your from 4 or 5 things. Now you are selecting only one. You need to support your argument why you are selecting only one. So you need to select that, and you need to say that it is how we have done it. Then patent for any one of these groups likely placed in each subclasses. Maybe you can have dependent or dependent claims, further dependent claims, or you need to say that these things are dependent claims. We have drafted several dependent claims that covers the entire thing in a better way, is what you can argue. That is the other argument that you can take up. Then rejection under subject matter novelty and non-obviousness requirement. You know the definitions of invention, new invention, industrial applicability, and there is a long list of non-patentable subject matter under 3 and 4. Then you might need to consider how software inventions, biotechnology inventions, pharma, traditional knowledge, mathematics, business method, computer database, and other systems, how they have been granted patents. You all know about Speaking Roses case, right? What is Speaking Roses case? What is the objection there? Why the patent has been refused granting? Anybody knows about it?
No, sir.
Sir, you discussed one case, that is capturing of image on rose petal. That is the
Correct,
same
correct,
case?
correct. That is the Speaking Roses case. So
So-
control of patents has refused granting a patent. Then how does these people get a patent grant? What is that they have said? Subject matter, essentially it is subject matter exclusion. Subject matter saying that plants and animals and parts thereof under section 3 are not patentable. That's the reason controller has refused granting a patent. Then how does these people have got the patent? What is the argument they have taken in the court?
Actually, it was the process of capturing image. So
Not the
there was
flower
one
petal
process.
itself.
Huh?
So that is
Yes.
how they have overcome that objection. Like the similar way, how if the examiner says it is software, computer program per se, section 3K, objection has been given. How do you overcome it? Like that, every technology will have specific guidelines given by the patent offices around the world to the examiners. You need to go through the guidelines. Even India is no exception. India, there are guidelines given for software patent examination, pharma patent examination, biotechnology patent examination. If you go through ipindia.nic.in, you will get these publications which have been guiding books for the examiners. So those things you can read, you can understand how to come out of those things. Now, how to come over many subject matter rejections? Acceptable wording changes every sometimes if you say every 3 years that the perception of the examiners will change year to year. In 2007, if computer readable storage medium has been used, then the patent would have been refused. If you use that, that would have been refused. 1 second, somebody has gone out. Let me check. Suryakala went out. Yeah, she's coming again. Okay. So year to year, the perception to terminologies would have been changed in the patent office. In 2012, if you say processor, a processor would not be patentable. So every year there are certain terminologies that have been objected by the examiners. You need to understand what is being objected by the examiners and what is being accepted by looking at previous similar technologies, how examination happened. Once a patent application is published, all communication between patent office and the applicant are open for public. So when you are replying to your FER, it is important for you to go through previous replies of other applicants of similar technologies. And how you, by doing that, you will be able to understand the examiner's mindset. If examiners are objecting to particular wording, you avoid using that wording. Try using the words which are acceptable by the examiners. So in particular years, like of late, if it is in 2019, 2020, they are accepting a particular word, use that word. Don't use a word which is they are not accepting. So that to understand that, you need to dig out the similar technologies and their prosecution history. May follow the FER suggested wording. Sometimes the in India it is not happening, but other countries, the patent examiners itself, they say that instead of using computer readable storage medium, use computer system or use a system. Don't refer computer. That is what the examiners would suggest. So sometimes it is, if it is feasible for your invention to call as what examiner suggested, you adopt that and avoid using extraneous words. Whatever examiner has suggested, that you can take in. Avoid subject matters, can't patent law of nature, but can potentially patent methods of creating conditions for a subject matter which is not allowed by the patent law. You avoid them. Only those subjects which are allowed by the patent, like if it is falling under section 3 or 5, 3 or 4, don't use those things in your claims. Then prior art rejections. Goal is to break down the FER into manageable pieces. Like if there are 3 or 4 prior art references are being given, for each prior art you need to separate it. Don't combine all together. For novelty, at least for novelty checking, you need to split the prior art into manageable pieces and then try replying to each piece separately. Avoid getting caught up in office action. Focus on prior art cited. what is cited by the examiner. Even if whatever is given in the examination report, you stick to that and you answer only to that extent. You don't add something extra to it and give ideas to the examiner, right? Review in a systematic order. Review the patent application claims first, and then review the major prior art cited documents. Look at the differences. Do high-level analysis before going into specifics. Check earliest filing date of each cited reference. Most often what happens, the prior art would have been cited by the examiner is not a prior art. Your application is first and then their application would have come in. The examiner would have forgotten to look at that and cite a prior art saying that this is a prior art which is filed after you. It is better that you check the filing date, when it is filed, when your application is filed, when is prior art filed. Is it really a prior art or not? So that need to be checked. Look at the search report, see whether examiner search, did they find a lot, did they spend a lot of time, gives you some clues. See, most often after publication, when examination report is been placed, at least in US, they also give the search terminology, databases they used, what, how the search methods, what method they have used for conducting a search. Even in PCT system, Patent Cooperation Treaty, when you get an international search report, they'll also provide the databases search, what are the methods, what are the keywords they have used, how they have conducted a search. All that will be available, the reports will be available. You go through those reports, understand the mindset of the examiner, what keywords he has used, in what way he wants to reject your patent, understand that, and then reply accordingly. Most first FERs are poor. Generally, first FER is generally, it will be poorly drafted because they might, see, the assumption is patent examiners are overburdened. They have most patent applications to be solved. So you need to assume like that, and because they are overburdened, they have sometimes poorly examine your application. The more you reply, the more you go on substituting. See, the moment I give reply to first examination report, then he'll go understand it thoroughly, and then he comes up with second examination report. Second examination report will be quite tougher than the first examination report. If you are able to convince in first examination report itself the examiner for grant of patent, that is well and good. You should not give an opportunity for the examiner to come up with the second examination report. If he comes up with second examination report, then your duty to convince the examiner will be becoming tougher. So allow him to grant a patent with the first examination report itself. Most applications can at least one rejection, whether warranted or not. See, it is but for obvious. In India, it is quite common. Every patent without an examination report, no patent has been granted till date in India. It is rarest of rare question in India that without a patent examination report, a patent would have been granted. So the patent office, either formality or subject to objections, they take up, and they, after the objections are complied, then only the patent will be granted. But however, patents can be granted without FERs also. There is a possibility. Now, high-level analysis, what's the point? What's the problem solved by your technology? That is what you need to, what is the crux of your invention? That you need to keep in mind. Review, refresh recollections before getting sidetracked by the prior art. Most often, the examiners want to deviate you from what is your invention. What is pinpointing your invention? They want to sidetrack because you have written this is your invention, is what they'll say. You should not sidetrack by their prior art or their arguments. Put this in your head, or even better, write a paragraph on your own words with the citations. Review cited prior art, what its point. Put this in your head, write out a paragraph with the citation. What is the difference? So what is your invention? What is the pinpoint of your invention? What is the prior art? What is the pinpoint of prior art? You need to write and then compare it with that analysis. We have reviewed our claims. We have looked at the prior art at ourselves. We have picked out differences in the claim features. Now we are ready to look at the arguments in the office section. What arguments we can take up. Then, if possible, hearing with the examiner. Etiquette and good manners are critical. You can't shout at the examiner. It is pinching. that examiner is unable to understand your technology, but you can't shout at examiner. You need to be sober, and you need to be quite good with the examiner. Uh, Statistics shows shorter prosecution, greater allowance when an interview is conducted. Don't argue with examiner. Try to get maximum points from examiner for you to respond. Don't try to put your argument in the interview itself. When you are doing interview or hearing, in US we call it as interview. In India it is called personal hearing. When in personal hearing, it is in person best, even in US. But however, telephonic interview is also good. Often easier to explain what a give and take or direct communication than a paper. In paper, you can't explain it properly. That's the reason. What is that examiner need is you'll be able to understand by a personal hearing or a telephonic interview. Can also understand examiner's position better. What is the impediment that examiner, what problem examiner has in granting a patent to you? Will be able to understand. You will be able to understand better if you do an interview or exam hearing. Writing a written submission post hearing. You need to have a cover letter, amendments if required, arguments and declarations where it is necessary. Cover sheet, heading blocked on the block of heading, response to office action. State what it is, state what each page item starts, and in the cover letter, you need to say 10 pages of response you are filing, what each page has. Page number 1 is talking about novelty objections. Page number 2 talking about non-obviousness objection. Page number 3 talking about subject matter objections. That list you need to indent it in the first page cover sheet, so that examiner is easy to go to what he wants. Hearing summary. Examiner will also provide one hearing summary. It's a good idea to have what you have discussed over interview and what happened in the hearing. That you can have a paper record during hearing, what happened between you and examiner, what discussion went. All that you need to record it in the paper, in the written arguments. Amendment of claims. Use status identifiers on like what is required to be amended. Marked up copy and clean copy you need to write. You all know, right? When you are inserting a text, you need to underline it. When you are deleting a text, you need to strike through that. That is in the marked up copy, and clean copy should be normal. Then state what the office action said succinctly. When you are writing an argument, what examiner has said you need to write. Rejection under what provision, what sections you need to identify. Then how it need to be allowed, under what circumstances it need to be allowed. If there is a restriction, if you are 3 or 4 things you have coupled up in a claim, and examiner asked for you to restrict, what is that examiner is asking, and what are you arguing, and what you are doing. Argument as well as amendment. Paragraph on your patent application with citations. When you are writing your response, you need to not only refer to the claims, but also specific paragraphs in which your specification says. You need to cite that paragraph in each prior art reference. When you are arguing the differences between your invention and the prior art, the prior art paragraphs and your invention paragraphs you need to cite in the write-up. Then you can also base your argument on court decisions, controller decisions, foreign patent offices, how they have, if there is a particular, suppose for example, a computer program is not been patentable, then how foreign patent offices, whether they have treated a particular thing as a computer program or a system, or what they have dealt, how foreign patent offices have dealt, that all you need to write. Your arguments need to be logical. Illogical arguments will not be allowed. Please allow the claims. At the end of it, you need to conclude asking how to allow the claims, and withdrawal of rejections is what you need to ask, and you need to sign sincerely so and so patent agent for applicant. So that's how you need to draft a response to office action. Is this clear, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, no? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we'll conclude this session for today. Tomorrow, if possible, we'll go through with the claims. with the provision of laws. I'm sorry, we have stopped at 55 or 66 or so. From there, we need to read the Patent Act. That reading we'll do tomorrow. As well as I want you to involve in this unless you practically do, like the example what I have given, this prefab toilet combine. It is actually a invention that filed by my client, and there is an office action reply we need to make. Rita knows we are in the process of making a reply. So while making the reply, I felt the claims what we have drafted are not appropriate, and claims required to be amended. That's the reason I have given this to you, so that whatever claims you come up and you draft it very well, I'll include the same thing in the response and file it with the patent office. Let's see how a patent examiner also deals with it. So this is a real-time practical exposure to you also. Okay.
Sir, in detailed description, numbering is also wrong. To Nani Trapna 214, it is mentioned 212.
I think that we need to correct in the marked up copy and clean copy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Where do you get the drawing numbers? It is only in the specification I have given, right? I have not shared the drawings. The drawings, there are no numbers provided.
In description, I said. In description, it is.
Okay. And Rita, I have also sent you the drawings. Place the drawing numbers and send me back. Read the description and put the drawing numbers accordingly in the drawing and send me back.
Okay.
Okay, ma.
Sir?
Okay. Yeah, Vivekanand, you have anything to say?
Yes. So yeah. I received a FER report for industrial design. In that, I am having a doubt. Shall I share it here, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. You can. Let me tell you, patents and industrial designs are different.
Yes,
unless in US everything design patents, plant patents, and utility patents they call. In India, patent agent examination is not related to industrial designs. Maybe you should know what is industrial design, but it is not mandatory for you to go in deep about design act or design registrations.
Okay. So, no, sir. My doubt is actually I filed the design on my own, not through patent agent. Okay. But in the FER report, they have mentioned original power of attorney or copy of general power of attorney is required. You
say that it is not necessary to reply back. The examiner might have assumed that you are an agent. So say that I am an applicant myself. I have not engaged any attorney. So no, you straight away say write back to the examiner to that objection. Put that objection as a heading, and to answer that objection, you say that I am applicant myself. I have not engaged any agent. So no power of attorney or general power of attorney is required is what you need to say.
Okay, sir.
See, normally the assumption is the patent examiners, because I said they are overburdened, they assume that it has been filed by the agent. And since there is no patent, no power of attorney, they might have stated that objection to you. So you need to say that I am the applicant per se. I have filed, I don't require to file, because when applicant files, a power of attorney is not necessary. That is what you need to explain in the reply letter.
Okay, sir.
You draft entire reply and share it to me. I'll go through, share the examination report and reply. I'll go through and suggest you what need to be done. Yeah, Suryakala, you have some questions.
The thing is, when we have drafted a complete specification and that has gone for the examination, the examiner has not countered like the claim. He's okay with the claims, but when we see the claims, it's not organized correctly. Can we change after that, like after FER? Can we change it, or only with the consent of the...
See, you can, as long as you are doing a voluntary amendment, then you need to file Form 13. If it is based on, if examiner says it is not logical, it is not appropriate, you amend the claims. If examiner suggests, then you don't require to file Form 13 and you can still amend it.
We can amend it, sir?
Yeah, at any point before the grant, you can amend it. But only the thing is, you can't add a new matter after first filing. Suppose you have filed and then FER is issued, then you can't add a new matter.
So, and any new modification is also there. Also, we can't add. So we have to put parent of addition after that. After this
You
main
can
parent.
give whatever has been described in the description or in the drawings. Even if it is not described in the description, but there is a drawing, you can explain the drawing. You can narrate that in the specification. You can add that in the specification, or taking the support of the drawing. But if it's completely new material, you can't get in the specification or in the claims. In the claims, if you have not, if it is described in specification but not in the claims, then if you want to add a claim in the claims, you are allowed, you are permitted to do that.
Okay, sir.
During the FER stage, during the prosecution, if something, suppose you have narrated XYZ in the specification and only claimed YZ, you have forgot to claim X, then after FER is issued, you can also add X in the claims because it is already narrated in the description.
Okay, sir.
You got the point,
Okay.
right? So clarification you can give. You can clarify if your claim is not properly written and you want to properly write the claim based on the description, that you can do. But you can't add any new material to it. You have claimed a mobile phone and thereafter you want to claim a computer, it is not possible.
Yeah.
After FER is issued, initially what you have done is you have claimed for a mobile phone. But after FER is issued, saying that mobile phone is already existing, you can't say, no, my invention is not mobile, my invention is computer. You can't do that.
Okay, sir. I got it. Thank you.
Great. Okay, then we'll wind up. Thank you for your presence. I might share this with the YouTube, the recording. I'll share it in YouTube and share it with you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.